The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center. We continue to have a little bit of an issue with sound, so I'm hoping that you can hear me. And please write in right now and tell Traven if you can't. We're going to have you guys as part of our test subjects for the morning. But we're here. We're excited. It's Wednesday. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And we're very excited because for the first time this summer, on a Wednesday, we have Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh here with us live, and she's going to be answering your questions in just a few moments. Before we get to that, we want to remind you that this entire show is meant to be interactive. We love it when you talk with us, and we get an opportunity to talk with you. So Traven is going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us. While he does that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com, and there are more than ever fabulous things to do on that website. There are so many videos to look at, so many different topics that you can search. It just continues to grow, which is wonderful, and I love that you guys have really been interacting with the website and saying great things about it. Want to point out a couple of things that are different than the old website. If you want to chat, the chat is at the bottom. Just click on the little chat button. It opens up, and then you can write whatever you'd like there. It's totally anonymous. It's totally free. No one's going to ask you for your credit card for 14 days. There's none of that, right? You write, but I don't know who you are. So if you need me to get back to you about something, please include some way for me to get back to you. Nobody else but me can see it. And we always like it when you include how, wherever you are in the world in terms of what's the closest major city, because we have no idea where you are and the resources are different everywhere. And we want to give you the best possible information when getting back to you with resources. Also want to mention that at the top, on some of your search engines, if we are live, it will automatically pop up live, and you'll see the little button up at the top that says live, and it's like a red-orange color. If it's not automatically popping up for you, all you have to do is click it. In some search engines, that's how it works, and it will pop up and you can watch us live. But of course, you can watch us live on YouTube. We are also on Facebook, Periscope, and Twitter. And if there's someplace else that you would like to see us live, we are considering adding a couple of more locations to be live on. Please let us know. And do remember that everything podcasts to iTunes. I know that iTunes is going through a change, but they will be in the same place that they are in the podcast division, and you have your choice when you download, if you want to download with just audio because you want to take us in the car or on a walk, or you can download picture and sound so that you can watch us on all of your devices. And with that being said, I can't wait. My friends, it is time for Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Good morning and welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. We have the fabulous Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh here with us in the studio for the first time in a long time.
I know, it's been like 2 months, I think.
It's too long. I'm getting jittery.
Very long. My
so
apologies.
No.
I'm not sure, I was gone, of course, for like 3 weeks.
You're a busy lady.
But then before that, I think I was just traveling sites.
Yes.
So it was very long time.
And
nice to see everyone.
Yes, and we always say that we know that you have other places that you need to be that are important important, and that we appreciate that you donate your time to be here and give us your time and your energy. So it's always great when you're here. We don't mean to guilt you when you're not.
No, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to Evelyn Kung. I know she's been covering a lot of these shows for me, so I really appreciate that. But also, we should maybe figure out how I can do this when I'm traveling, because I do this because I will be going to a lot of card sites in the next 6 months. So
it would be fun to have you do them live from there.
It would be amazing.
That would be so we have the technology.
That's awesome.
We do. And for those of you who are new to the show, or maybe you've tuned in over the summer, because we have a lot of new viewers, and you don't know Dr. Granpeesheh, she is a true expert in the field of autism and the founder of CARD. But I think it's so much, those are just words, it's so much more than that. I say this about you all the time.
Thank you so much.
This woman is the real deal, and she's the only person aside from my son that I would follow into a burning building.
Thank you.
Now, if it was my son going into the burning building, I would follow him to save him, but her I would follow because I would know she was going in for a really good reason.
What would you do if Jim was going in?
I would yell at him and go, "Hey, get out of there!" Right? That's what I would do, right? Right? I would be like, "What are you doing,
I'm honored.
Jim? What is wrong with you? That's a burning building. Get out of there." That's what I would do. And so that's, I love him, but that's the truth. He's an adult. He knows better, right? Anyway, and we love that she donates this time to be here to answer your questions. We have to tell you a little disclaimer that there is no expert in any format like this in any field that could give individually specific advice. It wouldn't be fair to the individual, right? On the spectrum or not on the spectrum. So please write in as many details as you can. Know that Dr. Granpeesheh will be answering your questions in a general nature, giving you information which hopefully will lead you to ask more questions of the experts that actually have eyes on this individual.
Right.
But having said that, honestly, I do need to be better about making sure that you hear always when families and now practitioners and teachers are like, "I love this show.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so
I just
much."
saw that. It's so nice when people write in and say, "You guys are amazing. What you do is helpful."
Yeah, and we get that.
Awesome.
We get that all the time,
That's
and I don't share it
fabulous.
enough with you
That's
to know that
fabulous. I'm so glad.
people are so excited. My favorite thing is that people, when they find the show, and then they sort of get a little bit like they go down the rabbit well, and they watch a lot of the show all in one fell swoop, and then they're here regularly with us for a while, and then what happens is that they are so busy doing the things that have been suggested on the show that they don't have the time to watch the show every day, and then they feel apologetic about it. And they're like, "I'm sorry, I haven't seen the show in a week."
Aww.
And I always say, no, that's the way it's supposed to work.
It's for you.
It's here, and then you use it as a tool, and then you go do other things.
Right.
You don't have to be with us all the time. But that's my favorite thing. When you are too busy doing your intervention to be with us here, that means you're doing it right.
Absolutely.
And then come back when you need something.
That's
we'll
right.
still be here.
It's
Isn't that
perfect.
wonderful? I get goosies. Okay, so we wanted to start today with a question that I promised a wonderful dad that we would deal with. He says, "Hi, Shannon, our 11-year-old boy eats very, very fast at the table. He wants to leave immediately after he finishes, and he drinks all his water before eating as well. Do you have any tips or suggestions to help him eat slower and not drink the water before each meal and stay at the table after eating? And thank you."
Right. Well, those are three different things, and it's a little hard for me to advise you because I don't know the functioning level of your 11-year-old, but I will give you some ideas and suggestions. So let's separate the things that you want to deal with. One is he drinks his water before finishing his meal. The second one, that he's eating very fast, and the third one is that he wants to leave the table right away. So assume that we have to reverse those into what we want, right? So we don't want him to drink his water before finishing. That's an easy one. So what you do is you just give him a small amount of water and you keep refilling it. So you'll put a glass and you'll just give him maybe a quarter of the glass and just leave it there. And when he's finished with that, you decide when he should have another glass of water and you give him another quarter. So now it's on your schedule, not on his. And if you do this, it'll become a habit over time, and so he will only be doing sips of a quarter of a glass and not the whole thing. Okay. I think part of the reason he's doing this is perhaps that he realizes that as soon he wants to get this done so he can go back to what it was he was doing or wants to do. For instance, maybe he gets to watch TV after dinner. You have to kind of analyze what it is that he's trying to get to, because that becomes something very important that you can change his whole life by changing the schedule of that.
Yeah.
So, for instance, assume that he is going to go and watch TV. Well, make sure that he doesn't get to go watch TV if he's gobbling up his food, finishing his water, and zooming off.
Yeah.
But now there's new criteria for how to get to go watch TV. The going to watch TV becomes the reinforcer, and we will now set new criteria. The water thing, just do that. That's easy. We don't want to set criteria on every aspect of this.
Yeah.
The second one is basically to eat slowly, okay? And that's where you need to sit with him, and essentially every bite that he takes, you can stop him. He takes a bite, you can put your hand on top of it, or another very easy way to do this is to have a very small timer, one that, like a stopwatch, not like an egg timer or something, just a stopwatch, and basically focus on his speed. So what you'll do is he'll take a bite, and then you'll have him just sit while he's chewing and put maybe 5 seconds, or whatever you feel is appropriate. Start with closer to what he's actually doing and gradually increase it. Like if he's, let's say, taking generally like 5 seconds right now to chew a bite, and you want him ultimately to spend 30 seconds, which is a little bit too much for a child, by the way, don't start with 30 seconds. That'll drive him crazy.
Right.
Start with just the 5 seconds and reward him. Just get it under it's called getting it under SD control. So you're doing what he normally does. So he'll take a bite, and you'll set a the stopwatch, and it'll go off at 5 seconds, and then he can take another bite, and you'll set the stopwatch again, and it'll go after. And so you're now controlling with your watch his bites, and it's his speed. Now, the next time there's a meal, next day, you put it at 6 seconds. And you do that for a couple of days. Then the next time you put it at 8 seconds, and you gradually build it up to 15 seconds. And now you're still doing it, but you won't visibly show him the stopwatch. Maybe it'll just buzz at 15 seconds. And then, so you're gradually fading out the stopwatch so he doesn't see it anymore. And now he's learned to slow down his eating, right? And now you start to chain this. So now it's not just 1 bite and a stopwatch. Now it's 2 bites or 3 bites. And so like he'll do a bite, and you'll be like, good job, that's great. And you just sit there. If he attempts, block him and get him on the schedule that you want, and then you'll reinforce that. And now the next time you'll be reinforcing 3 or 4 bites. You're gradually shaping yourself and the stopwatch and all of your prompting out of the formula so that he is able to do it on his own. And the biggest part of this is that he should still be eating by the end of the full timer. So let's say, I don't know, let's say you want to make sure the meal lasts 10 minutes, right? And so what you'll do is you will actually have like a kitchen timer or something on the table for everyone. Or maybe what you want is to say you cannot leave the table until we're done. You have to give him some sort of visual stimulus or some sort of cue as to the length of time you want him to be at the table. And, try to be fair. A lot of times kids want to finish sooner than we do. If he gets up before you've told him he can get up, he doesn't get TV or whatever activity it is that he was rushing to get to.
Right.
If he does stay within the time frame you want, he gets that activity. Make the time frame very short initially, and then very gradually increase the time frame. Another thing that'll help you is give him foods that require a lot of chewing. I don't know what his feeding issues are, if he has any, or if he's pretty good at chewing, but for instance, it's a lot harder to get through steak fast
Right.
than it is, let's say, custard or something that you don't have to chew. So chewing will just make the process a little bit later.
If he's somebody already who will do that, because
Absolutely, we don't want to mess with his feeding.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, and then if you have further
Questions, just write them in.
Yeah, absolutely. You can email them to me or you can write them in on the live feature.
Yep.
I told Dad that we were going to do that this morning and I want to make sure that we did. Okay, we're going to take a break and then we're going to be back with more Ask Dr. Doreen. Stick with us.
Hi, I decided to start Autism Works Now as a small business because 90% of individuals with autism and related disabilities are not employed after graduating from high school. Our mission at Autism Works Now is to create job opportunities for spectrum youth and kids through awareness and education.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Hi everyone, welcome to Camp Ed 2019. And we are so excited because this is our first camp where we're in our new home. We have an incredible ballroom dance class going right now, so let's come and take a look.
Camp Ed at the Ed Asner Family Center is an inclusive arts camp featuring some of your favorite arts programs. We have a little over 3 weeks of camp left. We want you to come and join the excitement.
Hi, I'm Nava Pasquitz-Asner, the co-founder of the Ed Asner Family Center and the founder of Camp Ed. And I'd like to introduce you to Andrew Pascal, who is my new camp director for 2019.
We have a very action-packed last 3 weeks of camp. Next week we have Art Week, where we're going to do a color run. We're going to get really colorful. We're going to tie-dye some clothes. The week after that, we're doing Heroes Week, where we're going to talk about heroes as well as fictional superheroes. Our last week is Surf Week and Celebration Week. And Nava, can you tell us a little bit about Surf Week?
Yes, definitely. This is my favorite day of the entire summer. We're going to be working with the amazing surf therapists of A Walk on Water. and they're just going to give us a great day, beach, fun, just a really wonderful, safe day. Please come join us at Camp Ed 2019.
Yeah!
Woohoo!
To join us for a week or the next 3 weeks, call us at 818-302-0712. Once again, that's 818-302-0712. Camp Ed and the Ed Asner Family Center were created by our family for your family.
I'll be hornswoggled.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is here with us, and she's answering your questions in real time, which is a huge, huge treat. So I want to go back to the beginning here a little bit. Dear Shannon and Dr. Doreen, my 13-year-old son is home for the summer. He has ASD and is in a self-contained classroom, mostly for his problem behaviors, which are escape from demand, maintain, so I was told. How can I work on compliance and following a schedule at home? He thinks he can watch TV all day, but I don't want him to. He's pretty strong, so I'm not sure how I can get him to follow my instructions with just telling him. Any guidance is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people who right about this point in the summer program are like, wait a second.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
How do I get them ready for school, and how do I get them off the TV or the devices or the whatever?
I know, it's so hard. And also, as you were reading this, I was just thinking to myself that it is even harder when you have a child who's 13 and strong.
Yes.
Because you can't physically model them. That's one of the reasons that I always tell people the earlier the better.
Oh, yes.
So what I would do is, I think what you have the TV, and the TV is his reinforcer right now, and we need to now use the TV as a reinforcer. And so in order to do that with any reinforcer, you always have to only give it as a reinforcer. If someone has access to something all day long, it can't be used as a reinforcer because they're using it all day long, and it's not contingent on good behavior. So what you need to do is you need to write a schedule for him, and good thing that a therapist or someone has told you it's escape maintained his behavior is. Now, escape maintained behavior means that the child will do things specifically to escape the classroom situation, or whatever situation. He will do things specifically to escape when you place a demand on him or something he wants to get out of it. So what you have to do here is basically you need to get control over that TV. I don't know, he's probably smart enough to know how to turn the TV on and off without a remote, but I don't know if he can manage changing channels without a remote. So the remote might be the key. If the remote is the key to it, then you control the remote. You now take the remote. You write a schedule for him, and you say, and on this schedule, start light. Like, don't put a million things on the schedule. I always want to not overwhelm the children because they will fight back. If you're making just one change to his schedule, it's much less likely that he will, be upset by it than if you make 10 changes to his schedule. So whatever his normal current schedule is, just add one task to it, but make sure it's visual. If he can read, write it out. If he can't read, then put pictures in segments of his activities during the day. But he needs a visual schedule so that he can see how the day is going to proceed, right? So basically what you need to do is write the schedule, and then in the schedule there will be a task, one task. And on that task, you will basically, you will have the TV, the remote. He'll get the remote, and then you will take the remote when it's time for him to do that task. If he has a tantrum, it does not matter. Don't worry about it. Just wait. You will hold the remote. Don't give attention to the tantrum. Just indicate what the task is. I need you to take your shoes to the room. I need you to, put the dishes away. Whatever it is. Just keep repeating that. As soon as he does that, which, trust me, sooner or later he will do it. As soon as he does that, give him the TV. Let him have it. Give him the remote. So then every day what you'll do is tomorrow you'll have 2 or 3 tasks, and he'll start understanding that you control the remote. Be careful. A lot of our kids are very, very smart. and he might hide the remote so that you can't do it the next day. So make sure you basically own that remote, and at any given time, if he wants to change the channel, you are the one that comes and changes it. You keep the remote with you. The first days you're letting him watch TV for longer. Gradually over the course of time, you've infused tasks into his schedule, but there's still TV. Don't cut out his TV, because you always remember, and there was another question I was reading here as well, which this pertains to that. If you increase demands, you also have to have a lot of reinforcers.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of our kids get a lot of reinforcers for no reason. They get nothing, no demands, and tons of reinforcers. The right way to do it is to gradually get to a point where they have a lot of reinforcers, but they're doing something to earn those reinforcers, and those things are the things you want them to do.
Yeah.
So it's just making that a contingency happen. That means you can have your TV, but you first need to do this.
Yeah.
You can have your TV, but you need to do these 2 things. You can have your TV, but you need to do the 3 things during the course of your day. And this is the key. A lot of reinforcer first, little demand, and then you gradually decrease the reinforcer and increase the demand. The reinforcer never goes away. Right. It just becomes what's okay in real life. Right? I mean, if I had nothing else to do, I'd also probably lay in bed all day, especially my new sleep number bed that I love, and read books, watch TV, get on my phone, whatever it is, right? But that would be, if I did that forever, it wouldn't have any meaning. I'd be bored with it right away. But the balance is, okay, I know I have to get up and go to work and I have to do X, Y, and Z, but I also know when I get to go home, I can play with my dog, I can relax, I can see my kids, whatever it is. So you have to teach your child how these are okay, this reinforcer is okay, but there has to be something that earns it.
Yeah. And a lot of times what we do as parents is that I hear parents say this all the time, and I know I'm guilty of this too. We're like, well, I want them to be a kid, and I want them to have free time, and we think that that's going to be good for our kids, when in fact we see that our kids kind of do better when they have structured time and a little bit of free time. That's really more the equation. And think about it. If you've set up a summer where there's very few demands put on them, and you really want for them to be successful in school, and then they go to school and it's demand, 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 and they go, hey, this is not how the program works, and they melt down. So if the first question you had, which is about how do I help him to be able to go through demands that are put on him and not have a meltdown through that, part of that is exactly everything that you just said, setting up and making it clear to him that no matter where you are, there are things that we do, and then we get some sort of a reinforcer for them.
That's right.
And it's so often, it's just, I don't know, I'm the same way as parents. I got to be honest, my kid this summer is working his first regular job thing and loving it. Yeah. And I could not be more shocked. Because he sort of had the option to just stay at home and play video games and work on the stuff that he did. And he said, no, it gets boring after a while.
That's awesome.
He's like, it's better for me to go and do something. And imagine all those years when he couldn't verbalize that to me.
That's incredible.
When he didn't have the words and the experience, the life experience to say, I'm better when I have a place to go.
Yeah,
and people to interact with and something else to do. And then I come home and play my video games and it feels like, oh, it's great.
What a great reward.
Now I get to play my video games because I've earned it.
So much more meaningful too, because you don't have it all day. It's just you're not satiated. It's called satiation. I do want to caution you. One of the things Shannon will speak about this too is that when the first time you actually place a demand and take away that reinforcer, when you take away that, he's going to have a fit. Yeah. Be ready for it. Not just the first time, several times this will happen. And this is really, really important. I always tell parents, if you don't have the support system you need in order to make this work, don't do it. Because when our children, let's say you take away the remote and he has a full meltdown tantrum, I don't know if he's aggressive, he might come try to push you, be very angry, punch the wall, I don't know. Kids do different things, right? He might aggress, he might tantrum, he might do one thing or cry. Plead, all kinds of stuff, right? if you give in at that point, if you give him his remote at that point, you've just made it worse.
Yeah.
So please don't do that. If you don't have the heart to actually ignore that and get away from that and just let him play out, a tantrum might last an hour. If you don't have the heart or the strength, then don't do it right now. Get someone else to come and help you. A friend, a neighbor, a professional, a therapist. It sounds like you've had some experience with a therapist who's told you it's an escape demand function. Yeah. So you need someone who can come and basically sit with you and say, this is okay, this is great, this is good. If he's tantruming, that means we're getting through. Yeah. And that's so important for you to understand before you do anything.
It gets very, thank you for saying that, because I think it gets very topsy-turvy.
Oh yeah.
For parents.
We make all kinds of excuses in our own head.
Yeah.
It's enough. It's long enough.
And it's just going to get worse, and we can't handle it, and so and we talk ourselves out of it. And we say, no, this is being cruel now.
Yeah.
That I'm taking the remote away from my child is being cruel because of his response to it.
Right.
Well, what's cruel is setting up a circumstance in which that's what he has to do to get his needs met. And the whole thing about ABA is that they're going to give him a different way of functioning to get his needs met.
In life.
In everything. Because right now, the only way he knows to get what he wants is to throw the mother of all meltdowns. And that gets your attention, and he does it. And that's the cruel thing. If we continue to teach him, when you do that, you get this, because then he'll have to escalate it that much further the next time. The nice thing to do is to say, this doesn't work. We're not going to do this anymore. You're going to have your feelings about that, but we're going to teach you a different way to request the thing that you want, and a different way to earn it, so that you can have the rest of your life and not be in this pain where you think you have to do. I don't know if you've ever been in a desperate situation where you needed something and it was like you would have done anything to get it.
Right.
Anything to get it. That's where our kids are.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that. And I think for parents, it's really important to understand that this is not really, I mean, think about he spends maybe, 18 years of his life with you, right? I mean, ideally and ultimately, what you're doing, even in those 18 years or 20 years or whatever it is, most of his time is outside of the family, right? You're not with him 24/7. He's at school. Yeah. Later on, he'll be at a job, whatever. So our job as parents is not necessarily for our enjoyment. I mean, it is right now because this is causing you great distress. But it's for the purposes of preparing our children for the world. Yeah. And imagine if this behavior continues where he has no compliance. How will he ever listen to a teacher? How will he ever listen to a boss? How will he ever listen to a friend? How will he ever give in to anything else that doesn't go his way? Is he going to have road rage? Is he going to have, you know what I mean? So what you're teaching him is self-regulation, which is so important for his future and for him being able to go on and interact with other people in a way that people like him. Yeah. I mean, if someone who is non-compliant and reacts whenever anybody says you can't have something, people are not going to like him. You like him because he's your child. We love our kids no matter what, but other people will then avoid, right? So what you're doing is you're preparing him for society, and that's something you have to remember, because honestly, that moment, I mean, I'll tell you as a behaviorist, I've told you this before, like I used to even have a hard time with Charlie when she was little. It's so hard. It's so hard. I mean, we laugh about it now, but because we had token systems in the house for 10 years, you know, like everybody had a token system, like an economy on the wall. Right. Everyone. There was a whole section of, this is Chinese, Sonny's, Nikki's chores. These are the things you have to do. Yeah. And it wasn't fun because sometimes she would escalate it. She would test. Yeah. And we'd always have to okay, you just lost all your whatever it was, you know, and it's tough. It's tough. Oh, it's very, very tough. Worst. Even as a behaviorist, I sat there and I was like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? Yeah. The thing for my son, there was a behavior that he was hitting me in the face. It was hard. We tried a lot of different things, and eventually we got to that, you know, there were all these
contingencies in place that he got all these rewards for not doing it, so on and so forth. But if we messed up, and I say we because I had all these things where I could block and whatever, but sometimes you're busy.
Yeah.
And he was very smart, you know. But if we messed up and he was able to hit me in the face, then we had to take away his Legos for the rest of that day.
Yes.
And, you know, and I remember my team saying to me, that's going to be a bad day. And I was like, well, yeah, because I'll be hit in the face. And they're like, yeah, but then it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be upset and he's going to be upset.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that it happened, and I was like, oh, it's like 6:30 at night. Can we go to bed now?
How long can a child tantrum?
Oh, it was just so bad. It was so bad. And then we had to have it happen one more time. And that never, ever happened again. And it was hard. It was really hard. But when I think about what we gained from it, you know, there's just some things that you just got to steel yourself for. And you have to prepare, and you have to ask for backup and say to a friend, I'm going to need you to come over if this happens.
I need to breathe. I need to get out of here for 10 minutes. I need to have a cup of coffee. I need to breathe.
Right. My husband and I would do, we called it tag team, like tag team wrestling. And we would literally say, tap, you know, I'm out.
Yep.
And the other person would come in and put up with it. And
it's crazy.
But when people say to me now, Shannon, my goodness, your life is so great and your kid is so great and whatever, I have to remind them it's because we went through all of that and we went through it diligently in the hopes that we would get to this. And that's
absolutely right.
You know, I'm always, that's why I'm so grateful. Don't make me cry. But I'm so grateful for everyone and for you for what you created in CARD and for everybody who was ever on our team. Because there were so many people.
Yeah.
But I always say, you know, I'm grateful that we had the knowledge and the help and the support to then give us the courage to do what we did.
Right.
I don't ever mean to poo-poo. It was a lot of work for my kid, a lot of work for a team, and it was emotional work for my husband and I, and physical work for us sometimes. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes. But no, that's how you get to the promised land.
Right.
Right?
Right. Absolutely.
We should take a break, palate cleanse, come back with more questions. So stick with us, don't go anywhere.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman. We're here doing allergy-free cooking, and I brought my sister with me today.
Jamie Davis, thanks for having me.
A lot of people are asking about a allergy-free breakfast, and breakfast can be full of crap.
But it's full of
cereal.
crap and it's hard to do. We don't have time in the morning. We're in a hurry.
We're going completely nut-free. The recipe is not
personality. We can't do anything
can't
about.
do anything about that. So we're going to start off first with I'm using sorghum and brown rice flour. I find the texture good, and I've added some flaxseed meal. We talked about that last time. Flaxseed meal for poop. Almost every one of our kids has a poop issue. What's next on the recipe is the quinoa flakes, baking powder, cinnamon, and the xanthan gum. It brings the glutinous texture back into the flour. And often what happens with these recipes is they can fall apart. This one holds up nicely. I like it. For the folks that are egg-free, we have a ton of egg replacers. One of those can be the arrowroot starch or bringing back some additional flaxseed. So there's a lot of options to go eggless, but we're going to go egg full in this one. For sweetener, I use the maple syrup. I stay away from refined sugar. What I'm adding now is the coconut milk, maple syrup, and a little bit of the coconut oil. And we're going to add in the raisins, craisins, and chocolate chips at the end. I find that chocolate chips can coax people to eat some really amazing things. When we started, Jeff had 42 food allergies, so we had to get creative in how we cooked. So nuts were a big, big issue. What I like now is that he can tolerate so many more things after start doing this diet. So let me show you how you can deal with this sticky stuff here. You get your fingers really wet, and you can push it down. So my oven has been preheated. It's at 350 degrees. So we're gonna just throw this in. Like I said, I like it around 23 minutes, and the magic oven says, I'm done. Looks like, don't you love magic ovens? They're awesome. Here we go, pops right out. the texture of these, and it's so pretty. It looks almost like a big chocolate chip cookie, but you actually made it healthy. But you can be my guinea pig. Tell me what you think.
That looks really good.
Doesn't it? So the textures and the colors in there are just beautiful. So the raisins are for you, the chocolate chips are for your kid.
I can't believe it's gluten-free.
I know, right? It doesn't taste like, you know, crap. We're wrapping up another cooking show. If you have feedback, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We're, of course, on Facebook. You could go to facebook.com/autismlive. And, of course, Talkin' Now has thousands of recipes. Join me there, and we can cook some more later on. So thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back, you guys. Okay, we're here with Dr. Granpeesheh, and she is answering your questions in real time. This is a great question that I want to know the answer to. My daughter has autism and just got braces. She needs to have 4 teeth pulled. She will be put under anesthesia due to sensory issues. Which form of anesthesia is better, IV shot or gas anesthesia? A lot of people are doing their dental appointments during the summer. And these are the kinds of things that, like, I would then go, oh, I don't know. Is there one that's better, or is it child specific?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I think that I do know the person who would know this.
Okay.
Andy Kaplan's mom. Do you
Okay.
remember Andy?
Yes.
Yes. So his mom is a dentist.
Oh,
and
we have to
very
book her to be on the show.
specifically.
All right.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's got to come on the show.
She's fantastic. Okay,
Okay.
so we'll get in touch with her and we'll find out. She actually rearranged. Her name is Susie Kaplan. She rearranged her practice in order to be able to accommodate individuals on the spectrum.
Well, we will get that dentist on
Yes,
here
for
and talk
sure.
about that. Because there's a lot of things like that I remember the first time that Jem ever tested positive for the flu, and our doctor, our pediatrician, prescribed Tamiflu and said, you know, take this. And there was just something in my gut that was like, why do I think this is not going to work well with autism? And he was young. And I started calling people, and I actually, you know, TACA, we talk about TACA a lot on the show, which now stands for the Autism Community in Action. Did you know that they changed their name? That's what it stands for now. And they have mentors, biomedical mentors. And so I called one of them and I said, hey, is this a thing? And she said, oh, you know, for some of our kids on the autism spectrum, it can be really bad because if you read the label, it says it can cause hallucinations. And for kids on the spectrum, they don't know what that is. Like, that's a really traumatic thing for them.
Yeah.
And as a result, I said, well, what else could, and they said, oh, there's a great over-the-counter, it's considered homeopathic. They sell it in every single drugstore now, that oscillococcinum stuff.
Yes,
We've
of
had them
course.
on the show because it's so good.
Right.
No big side effects, helps with the flu.
That's true. I
lessens the
forgot
flu.
about that. That's right.
And as a result, because I was like, what do you give a kid?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little things like that.
Yeah.
But we'll have this dentist on to talk about which circumstances you would do, which one, and we'll figure that out. Okay. The next question, what can I do to stop my 2-year-old on the spectrum from hitting? He does it when he's upset. Thanks. How can I encourage functional play? I want to say you guys are amazing. What you do is so helpful.
Thank you so much. So, you know, like every other behavior, we have to identify the function of the behavior. So my first question to you is, why does he hit? And you might not know why, but most of the time if you observe the behavior, you'll be able to figure out what's causing it. So what happens right before it, or maybe even right after it, that when he hits? Is it because you ask him to do something? I know it's when he's upset, but what causes him to become upset? And that's really important to figure out before we can give you a clue. I'll give you some ideas, but it really has to do with what is the function. So sometimes a child will hit when you take something away. And in that case, you have to make sure you take the object away and prevent them from hitting you. And he's only 2, so you're in good shape. So you block him from hitting you. He can have all kinds of tantrum. It doesn't matter. He can, as Shannon just said, you make sure you block it. If he gets to hit, he cannot have that object back. If he does calm down, then he can have the object back. And that's a very simple process. Kids might hit if you are preventing them from going someplace. Let's say he wants to go outside and play. You block him. You don't allow him to go outside. You just need to make sure that he cannot go outside if he is hitting. Let me just try to explain it in more general terms. The hitting is communication. The hitting is either he's upset because you took something away, he's upset because he wants something, he's upset because he wants to get out of something you just asked him to do, or he wants to go someplace. There's a reason for it, right? What you have to make sure happens is that he cannot, if that thing that he wants, if he hits, he doesn't get that thing. If he asks or points or some other form of more appropriate communication, he gets that thing, whatever that thing might be. It might be an object, it might be an activity, it might be escape from a situation, whatever that thing is. He only gets it if he communicates in an appropriate way. He does not get it if he hits. Now, a 2-year-old very likely won't have words yet, maybe, so you'll need to set up a picture exchange communication system, or maybe icons on a laptop. You'll have to have some form of appropriate communication. A lot of times 2-year-olds, 1 to 2-year-olds will point to something, and that is appropriate. And if they point to something, you can give that to them. If they try to vocalize it, even better, you can give that to them. You should model the vocalization for the thing that he wants and then try to reward it by allowing him to have it. But the real basic formula is this: do not allow him to gain access to any kind of reinforcer if he hits. Give him tons of that reinforcer that he wants if he asks in some appropriate fashion.
Okay. We have so many questions that have come in, and we're not going to get to all of them, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I wish I could keep you for 3 more hours, but I'm going to try to rapid fire, short answer. Let's start with YouTube. Can kids that are labeled high functioning, who are very intelligent, have many behaviors that are low functioning? I'm having these issues with my son.
Absolutely. I mean, our typical kids, why are we even talking about our kids? Us.
Yeah.
We deteriorate to that level once in a while, right? I mean, sometimes you're just at the point where you're so frustrated you don't know how to respond, and you just lose it. You tantrum and you scream at people for no reason, and you lock yourself in the bathroom, whatever. We all do different things. But absolutely, the functioning level is not necessarily the key. It's more about the frustration level. It's about inequality of reinforcers to demands in our society, in our environment, in our lives. So if you have enough reinforcers for the demands that you experience on a day-to-day basis, you won't have those meltdowns. If you have a meltdown, it means that the effort to request it or get what you want is much higher than the reward that you're receiving on that day. And you as a parent can help balance that.
And nobody's going to be great at everything, and some things are going to, like, we all have our own issues. Some things are going to set you off.
100%.
So, yes,
100%.
absolutely. Okay, next question. Hello, Ms. Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Please guide me how to teach adverbs to a high-functioning kid. I'm using skills. He is able to learn attributes pretty well, but finding adverbs difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using skills, great, because that means you have a lot of the prerequisites down. Make sure. A lot of times what happens is our kids are not fluent on their prerequisite lessons, and then we're trying to throw things at them. But with the adverbs, you could probably act them out, and I'm not sure which level you're at, but assuming that he is expressive at this point because he's high functioning and doing an adverbs lesson, act them out, and first have him perhaps do it, like run slowly, run quickly, give him some example and have him do it, you do it, and then ask him. In other words, take it to a 3-dimensional instructional model and then go back to identifying on 2D cards.
Okay, wonderful. Moving on, we're going to the Facebook comments. We'll come back to YouTube. On Facebook, we want to say a couple of shout outs. Chris, we're so glad that you are joining us whenever you can and sharing whenever you can. Thank you for doing that. Gamal, we want to say hello back to you. And Brid wants to know, do you think bringing a nonverbal child horse riding is a good idea? What about swimming? Is this helpful?
Yeah, so swimming 100%, yes. I don't think I have a single child in the entire practice where I've ever seen a child not seriously enjoy swimming and benefit from it. Swimming, the water pressure around the child seems to be very, very comforting from a sensory perspective to most of our kids. So I highly recommend swimming, and of course, if the child gains a certain level of expertise, it's also very good for their self-esteem.
And how about safety?
And safety,
Yeah.
no question about
Yeah.
that. That's like one of your first concerns, absolutely. With hippotherapy, so when you do horseback riding, there are people who they're very specialized in doing this with individuals on the spectrum, and so it's called hippotherapy. And it does give the child a couple of different things. First of all, it gives the child self-esteem, like a sense of that they can control some things in their environment. It is very calming for some children. It helps with their balance. It is an athletic sport. It's a sport, so it's wonderful in that sense that it's something that your child can use as a leisure activity as well. So yes, I would absolutely recommend both of those physical activities. Make sure though that you're not doing an excessive amount of those, because there's a lot of, usually I find that we don't do enough of the things we're supposed to do with our kids. So please do have, I hope you have, your primary thing should be an ABA program for the child, so that he's learning how to communicate, socialize, self-engage, self-control, all that sort of stuff. And then you should be doing these additional types of activities as well.
Wonderful. Michelle wrote in and said, son has ASD, he's 4 and dead set against potty training. He told me last night, and I guess this is their way of communicating this, that he said, need a butt. And she told him, I know you need a butt. And he said very loudly, then change me. Oh. And she said, I'm frustrated, help.
So in other words, he needed his butt cleaned. That's so cute. He needs a new diaper or something. Yeah. So there's a procedure, we've spoken about this before several times, and I believe we even have a recording on it. It's the Fox and Azerin toilet training procedure. I highly recommend it. It works with 99% of the kids. I would recommend that you follow that procedure to the T. And you can access that by...
Well, we'll hopefully we'll show that on the next show, the video, and
Okay.
and she sent me her email, so I will try to send you a link to it so that you can watch it. But don't you think if they're at the point where they're saying it's happening, like,
they're ready.
They're ready, and you're going to be able to do with the Fox and Azerin, and you've spent a great deal of time talking about there has to be a reward big enough today.
Absolutely.
Same thing, different page.
Absolutely right.
But we will mail you the link to that video so that you will have that. And then the last question before we're done, we're doing really well. You just rapid fired those.
Great.
So we might even have time for more of this. But on our live feature, India has written in, somebody from India. They say,
Wonderful.
This is from India. I am using skills for my daughter who is 9 years old with ASD. My question is, what is the criteria percentage to decide we need to still work on a particular curricular area? Does one need to work on every lesson in every curriculum?
No.
Isn't this a great question,
It is
though?
a fantastic question, and I'm so glad, I'm honored that you're using skills in India, and that's wonderful. So no, it is not necessary for you to teach everything within every curriculum area. That's why it's very important for you to look at the assessment results, right? So you do an initial assessment and you see certain things. The way that and those are the things that you're supposed to work on. So first of all, it is not everything. It's some things that your child couldn't do when you did the assessment. But even within that group, I would say there's several things that, if I were you, I would start with what I feel is the most important for my child. So let's say your child is 9, I believe. You're going to want to work with, let's say, for instance, if there's a 2-year-old skill that your child still does not do, and you know that this is an important skill in your child's life, day-to-day life, then work on it. If it's a skill that your child's not going to really need to do, then don't work on it. If it's a skill that is very close to being mastered, then move on. Because you have 100 things there that you need to work on. So be selective and don't worry about it. You do not need to, if you ever reach a point where your child gets stuck, then you can look at the prerequisites. And if you've skipped one of those, then you can go back and do those prerequisites. But don't worry about it. And the other thing I want to say about this is that children get bored. Some children get bored if you repeat the same stuff over and over again. So it's kind of important that you pay attention to your child, and if some children are perfectly fine if they're at 80% response, some children need to go to 90, even 95, 100% response because they don't have fluency. Make sure that you get to a point where your child has generalized. If a skill is generalized to real life, move on.
Okay. I can't believe it, but we actually have like a minute and a half left. I just want to say, such a privilege to be here with you. What you sound like you had something.
I just wanted to ask our viewers, I always forget to do this. If they don't mind, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, because we're posting some pretty cool things on there, news about autism and different things. And so it's just under my name.
Okay.
On Facebook and Instagram. That would be great.
What a great thing. And we can share that from our Facebook page for them to be able to see as well. You do post a lot of really great things there.
Yeah,
that's a really
we're
fun
getting
thing
in
to
that.
see. I absolutely love that. I rather than like rush and take another question, I'm going to leave it there and leave you a minute.
There's one quick
tons
thing.
of questions.
Well,
Yes,
there's
is there
one quick
you
thing
wanted
we
to-
can tell them, that there are a lot of videos from families who've benefited from ABA therapy with CARD. And those would be, for instance, the
Portraits of Hope.
Portraits of Hope, that's what they're called.
And here's the
yes.
thing, it used to be kind of hard to find them.
Yes.
It isn't anymore. If you go to the Center for Autism, and it's their website, which is centerforautism.com. On the very top of it, there's like a bar, and then there's a bar. On the very top, there's a link to us. You can go and you can push Autism Live, and you can go right to our page. But right directly below that, it says Portraits of Hope.
Wonderful.
And if you click on that, you are on the page where you can pick any of the stories.
Fantastic.
Some of them have videos, some of them don't, but you can click on a video and you can watch the video right there.
These are the ones we used to call Mission Possible, right?
Yes, those. Yes, they're called Portraits of Hope. Mission Possible is
Wonderful,
sort of their
wonderful.
subheading.
Wonderful.
So they are all right there on the website for you guys to check out. I was actually there this morning.
Great.
Because I'd seen that the new thing popped up, and so anyway, they're right there. It's super easy for you guys to find. I want to give you a little bit of because now Traven, because I can't remember anything anymore, Traven is so good, and he gives me all these wonderful notes about who's on the rest of the week, and I don't have to search my brain categories for them. So tomorrow, our autism expert is Amy Sackrider. She's coming to us from Texas. You're going to love her. She's absolutely fabulous. And we are having Chris Assad, who is the LMFT from the Ed Asner Family Center. They are starting services for families for mental health services. And so she's
Wonderful.
going to be here with us to talk about that. On Friday, for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, our guests are Elaine Hall from the Miracle Project, talking about some of the really amazing things that they have going on. And then we also have an interview with Joanne Lara and Susan Osborne about Autism Works Now and some of the really exciting stuff that they're doing. So that's the rest of this week. And then I can tell you that on Monday, our very special guest on Monday is going to be Alex Plank from wrongplanet.net. We don't get very many opportunities to sit with Alex. A lot of you have seen him on the show before, but you just saw him on The Good Doctor in the last season. He was the boyfriend of the girl who was having the surgery that they were into talking about bugs. And so Alex will be here to talk with us about that, what he's up to. He's traveling a lot, and so we're going to find out all that's going on with him and what it's like for people on the spectrum when they feel like people don't like them for who they are.
Wow.
So we're you know, if you've ever watched me and Alex, we get into it. We dive in with forks, and he tells me when I'm on the wrong page. He'll say to me, Shannon, that's ableist thinking. And I go, oh, it is, isn't it? Right? And I go, oh, I don't want to do that. That's horrible. I love having someone who will call me out on that.
Sure.
You know, that's a
Absolutely.
wonderful thing to have in a friend. So anyway, we'll be here with Alex. We'll speak frankly. all that and more. But thank you so much for being
A pleasure.
here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug for me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.